Hi there, everyone. Welcome to this week's Freedom Friday with Tony Knight and myself, Gerald Lopez. I'll be kind of managing the situation behind the scenes and conveying your comments and questions to Tony, because he gets pretty busy trying to explain the things he's doing. So this week's we've been doing the 5 elements, or we've been doing some of the 5 elements. We did earth and we did water in the last month, and today we're going to look at the intelligence of air, which as you may notice if you've been following along, that the elements are getting more and more subtle. You know, they're getting. We started with earth, which is the most heavy and dense and gross, and then we moved to water, which is less heavy and it's flowing, and now we're coming to air. So we'll talk about its relevance and importance, especially in terms of our mind, our intellect, ego, imagination, critical thinking, which is very much needed these days, especially if you're thinking about mastering your finances. Critical thinking is really important to wade through all the masses of information that's out there and sift the wheat from the chaff. And yeah, basically we'll talk about logic. So I think I'll let Tony introduce his topic. So thanks a lot, Tony, and welcome.
Thank you, Gerald. It's great to be back. I'm really looking forward to this one. I actually really love the whole elemental exploration. I think this is a key base, a key foundation to our life. And I personally, this is how my company Earthstar was actually created. It's based on the elements, but the elements are very abstract. They're very nebulous. People don't understand really what they're all about. So I'm just going to go over it again. I try to use metaphor and analogy as much as I can, because people can then sort of get a bit of a picture as to what I'm actually saying. So I've came up with a little kind of rhyming thing for the elements, where earth is to grow, water is to flow, air is to blow, fire is to glow, and ether is to know. And so it's kind of I like using plays on words like that, because it's something that we can understand really quite easily. And so earth is, when we say grow, I mean that's obviously things grow in the earth. We need to have an anchor. We need to be grounded in the earth. So that relates to the physical body. It relates to our base chakra. As you notice, I've got a picture of the chakras up.
I will put them up now.
Chakras.
Yep.
Sorry?
Okay. Yep. Go ahead. I've just put them up now. Yep. Go ahead, Tony.
So the physical is obviously related to and it is related to our physical body. The water element is related to our emotional body, which is related to our sacral chakra, which is the next chakra up. The air element is related to our mental body and the solar plexus chakra, or the navel chakra. The reason why that chakra is related to the mental body is because our first brain is in the gut. Our gut feelings, our mind is very connected to the gut. The fire element relates to our soul body, what I call the soul body, and to me it is related to the heart and the throat, the thymus gland. and the etheric element is related to, you could say, our spiritual body, or the etheric body, and that relate to our crown chakra or third eye. So that's kind of an overview of the elements and how they all kind of plug in to our body through our aura. Our aura is literally a series of bodies, starting from our physical body, as these bodies, these physical, emotional, mental, soul, spiritual, etheric bodies are connected to our aura. And so when we're exploring today, we're exploring the air element, and that is directly related to our mind. So what is the mind? The mind is to me, it is a field of energy around our physical body and in our physical body that encompasses our thoughts, feelings, intuitions, emotions, and senses. So the mind is not just the brain. The brain is a part of the mind in the physical body. The brain is actually very important, though, to the mind because it is a receiver of impressions of energy. It is a receiver of the senses, and it is a transmitter of information as well. So the brain is like the interface or the medium between our mental body and the other bodies to a certain degree, and our physical vehicle. So the brain receives senses through the five senses. The five senses are just electromagnetic impulses. They are basically electrical, primarily electrical in nature. And the brain is actually analyzing those and then turning it into something that we sense. And it's from the senses that we start to form a comprehension of the world, and we start to make thoughts. All this is happening in a microsecond. And we transmit our thoughts and feelings out into the ether, out into the world. And we're so, as I said, the mind is a field of energy. We're like in a field of energy. We're like an energy within a greater field of energy. And so, and it's in this way that we're intricately connected to ultimately to the whole universe. If you look at the Earth, the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe, we are literally connected to every one of those worlds, if you like to call it that, because they all are fields of energy as well. So it's like we're like nested inside a whole series of fields stepped right down into our body. And then if you look at our body, there's other worlds within us, in our cellular body, in our organs, and all of that, and going right down to the subatomic level. So in the mind, I contend that the heart also exists within our overall mind. The heart is our feeling center, and the feelings and the thoughts are intricately connected. Most feelings are the reaction to, we have a feeling or an emotion after we have a thought. In other words, our thoughts are primary. We think something, and then that creates an emotion or a feeling. And the heart, I call the higher mind, the higher developed mind. Whereas the ego, which is another aspect of our mind, is a lower aspect. The ego is very much related to survival. It's really just an expression of the five senses. It's physical survival, it's basic needs, it's when you're hungry, you want to eat. It's sexual desires. It's anything to do with basic is in basic things that we feel that we need. And as I said, there's also the gut. The gut is also an important part of our mind. We get gut feelings. Our intuition can come through the gut. And this is the gut is literally connected by nerves to the brain. So what happens is we feel a sense in our gut, and then we make a thought around it, which then creates an emotion, and then that emotion can then loop around into another thought. And this is what happens is we sort of get into a bit of a mind loop sometimes. So when we look at the air and the mind element, they're made up, this is consisting of thoughts. Thoughts can consolidate into beliefs through our past impressions, and through our senses, what we hear and that sort of thing. Air is related to communication, it's related to language, it's related to creational, innovation, logic. Two very important parts of logic are numbers and geometry. In its pure form, it's very mind-orientated. However, the adaptation of it in the world is using the feeling or emotional side as well as the mental side. As I said, the mind is really pre-emotions. Air is also related to our breath. Without breath, we're not going to survive very long. So there is an intricate connection between breath, mind, and air. And in nature, it has a natural component, and one of the aspects of nature that, to me, that relates to thoughts are birds. Birds fly in the air, and just like thoughts, you could say there's something in the air. We have thoughts coming from the air, and they're coming field of energy of which air is a component. And birds, and when they interact with us, they can often be giving us messages, and I'm a big believer of that. Now, related to air, the states of mind, we can have various states of mind. Optimum states of mind, to me, are having an open mind. The mind is a tool. It is not the be-all and end-all. It is like a doorway. So to me, the doors need to be open. We need to be open-minded. We need to have an inquiring, questioning mind. Ultimately, our mind needs to be in a witness state, and the witnessing can come in when we have a still, quiet mind. When we're in a meditative state, we will naturally start to witness ourselves. When I say that, that means we're kind of like going out of our body to observe what we are feeling, what we're thinking, what we are sensing in our body. Our body is literally a receptacle for our thoughts and feelings and emotions. So the optimal state of the mind is to be in a witness state. And a key element of the air mind is critical thinking. Critical thinking is related to the value of discernment. And I think in this today's world, discernment is absolutely critical right now. We have to discern between what is good and bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is optimal, what is beneficial. And when it comes to researching, and we've often been talking about finances and discernment is extremely important right now in that level. Critical thinking is connected to reasoning. This is where we mull things over in our mind. We sort of it's not always apparent what is right or wrong. So this is why we need to have some time to think about things and mull it over. It's also related to cognition. You know, we have precognition. We have cognitive function is really about thinking. Cognition in its original etymology means get to know. So this is where the mind is extremely important. It's also related to research. We will be using our left brain critical thinking mind when we're dealing with computers. Software coders will be very left brain people. And technology in general, both using technology and creating technology is very left-brained function. And other aspects or that relate to our mind is intuition is one. Intuition literally means inner tutor. So we can literally, as we start to refine ourselves and we start to become more conscious as a being, our intuition will become a very strong functional tool that we can use. It's literally receiving information from that field of energy from, as I say, thoughts are not located in the brain. Thoughts are located in the field, and we are literally able to pick up the true information via our intuition from that field. It works with the higher mind, and it's working with the heart function as well. It isn't just pure mental thinking. Intuition, I believe, is when it's working in integrative function with the heart, it's ultimate. It's the ultimate way of being. Then we have our imagination. So imagination, image in nation. It's literally imaging the territory where we're going. The imagination is related to our directional facility. Our direction in life. And imagination is really just thoughts entrained in a certain track. So when we have ordered our thoughts, when we really know what we want in life, when we are really in tune with our purpose and we're in tune with who we are, our imagination comes into focus. Where we can image in our mind, we can see our vision in living color. So imagination is entrained thought, and it's repeated thoughts. This is why I really stress the importance of spending some time either in a meditative state in nature or just anywhere where you can ponder and dream on what you want and sift out the wheat from the chaff. Just constant repetitive thoughts on a similar in a similar aligned state is very, very powerful, and this is creating our direction. Then when we lace them with feelings, the feelings is the power behind it. Thoughts on their own are not going to have any real substance or power until we put feeling into it. So if you're imagining what you want, you have to also imagine how you will feel when you get what you want. How do you want to feel while you're in this state? And so the feelings are and that's what brings things into manifestation. If we're imbalanced with our thoughts, and if we're in our lower emotions, just focused on basic ego senses, we're not going to get much in life. So just to recap, our thoughts are our direction, our feelings is our power. Thoughts are very much a masculine energy, and feelings is a feminine energy. But male and female in its ultimate sense are not gender based. It is related to electromagnetism. It's related to energy in its pure form. And with the electricity and magnetism, that's how we attract. Another aspect of our mind is beliefs. Now, beliefs are our past. Beliefs are unverified thoughts, really. Beliefs reside in our subconscious mind, and I'm going to go over that next in a minute. But beliefs are really related to past experiences from childhood, and as we grow up, it can be beliefs come from other people as well. They come from the outside, and then we take them on board because they sort of resonate in a lower way with what we already are starting to think world. So what we believe about the world, So beliefs are not the truth, but beliefs can be a great foothold to, in other words, we can have positive beliefs about the world or negative beliefs. But when beliefs are unexplored and when they are not being witnessed by us using our mind function, we will create very random things in our life. So beliefs need to be observed, they need to be seen, and then once they're seen, then by natural law they will start to dissolve when you realize that they're not serving you. So beliefs primarily are about the past, and they literally are thoughts that are not aligned with positive feelings. But as I say, beliefs, I often have this thing as like, first we have information, then we believe something, then we know something. So belief, if you believe in a positive world, then that's a good positive aspect to build upon. Another aspect of mind is our conscience. As opposed to conscious awareness, we have our conscience. And conscience, if you break down the word conscience, it means conscience, confirming science. This is the knowing that we have. This is our innate knowing of what's right and wrong. And when I say right and wrong, I mean as in what's true and what's illusion. So people get in this argument about right and wrong. I'm not going to get into that, but there is a right and there is a wrong. But we have been conditioned that there is no right and wrong. It's just whatever you make up. Well, if you're just going to make up your own right and wrong, and they're not aligned with objective truth, they're not aligned with positive actions in the world. If you think you just can beat someone up because you believe that that's your right, then to me that's completely misguided. But we have a faculty in our mind that can disseminate between the two, and that's called our conscience. And it's often also felt in the gut. It's kind of aligned with intuition, really. And the other part of our mind, and looking at the whole mind field, is what I call the three states of conscious, subconscious, or also known as unconscious, and super. The conscious mind is our active, aware state. The conscious mind is when we are fully aware of what's happening around us. Our conscious mind is sustained thought. It is working in the frontal lobe of the brain, or the neocortex, and it is where we make the changes to rewrite the programs that have gone into our subconscious mind. And this is what I mean by it's important to know and understand the witnessing side of our faculty, of our mind. So the conscious awareness only takes, they have the saying that we only utilize 6 to 7 to 10% of our brain. This is, I believe, they're actually referring to the conscious mind, because we can only sustain thought, conscious thought, for so long, and then we will revert very quickly into the subconscious automatic way of living. The subconscious has the greatest power. The conscious mind is only they have actually done studies on this, and whereas the conscious mind maybe has, say, 1 megabit of processing power, the subconscious mind will have 1,000 megabits of processing power. I'm just using an analogy. The subconscious mind has far more energy and power because it's controlling the automatic functions of our whole body, the heart beating, and all the functions of blood circulating, and all the things that are inside the body. It's incredible. And this is all being controlled by our automatic nervous system, our autonomous nervous system, or our sympathetic nervous system. So it's all related to our nerve function, and the nerves are like the information receptors that feeding information to our brain. And that's where also when the senses come in, they come in through the nervous system, and then they get processed and as packets of information, and then we make a thought based on that. But the subconscious mind is very deeply embedded in the center of the brain. It's actually generally housed in the limbic system. Also, that's also part of the hippocampus. So it's right in the center of the brain. This is where we have traumas get lodged. It's where emotions get lodged, for better or worse. It's where this is why it's so powerful to control our life, because this automatic function is playing out these traumas from the past constantly. So as the saying goes, feelings run deep. We will remember instances from our past when it's come with strong emotions. We can recall that time very easily, and when we get triggered by an event that sets off those old emotions, it can come into your mind very fast. So this is very, very, very powerful, and well, these are like programs, just like we have computer programs. These are programs that are playing out. They're running automatically, but we can rewrite those programs. We can use lots of different tools to do that, which would entail a whole workshop. It could entail a weekend workshop on that. But we can use our conscious mind to overwrite the subconscious programs. But it takes sustained effort and a lot of work on yourself, but it's got to be done. The other aspect of the subconscious is also the parasympathetic nervous system, which is it's the opposite response to the sympathetic. It's where we get rest, repair of our cellular structure and our body, relaxation. When we're in a calm, relaxed state, then that's our parasympathetic nervous system kicking in. So the sympathetic nervous system is where we're running on adrenaline and stress and everything else. Then the other aspect of our mind in this context is the superconscious mind. When we can develop ourselves like some of the sadhus have in India and some of the monks, when we've developed a certain level, we can divine kind of connection can kick in. This is where we get elevated experiences, visions. This is where we get real knowing. This is in that state when we can just know that we know, and through that is where wisdom then really acting on that knowing. So in the superconscious mind, it's very rarely felt by many people, but when you experience that, then you really know that you've something very powerful. And the other aspect of the mind is the dream state and sleeping state. And even within sleep, we have the rapid eye movement is when we're having a dream state, and then we can have another aspect of sleep where we're just completely unconscious, and that is the real relaxation and rest. That's when the brain can really relax. But when we're having dreams, that is also the brain coming to terms with the stresses of the day or of your current life. A very active dream state means that's the brain clearing out the garbage of the day and making sense of what's happening in our life. And also we can have astral projection in this, obviously when we're asleep. That's another thing. It's another aspect of our body, the astral body. We go into our astral body, it's like a blueprint copy of our physical body, and we literally can leave our body and go ourselves around the world. And then there's another aspect of dreaming is called lucid dreaming, where you're literally experiencing something that is going on. You're literally having a real experience in a kind of another reality, really. So that's the basis of my the basis of what I've wanted to say initially, and we can have a little bit of banter and some questions from that. People are got questions. I'll just go back through these elements, and this slide is very important because consciousness, to me, consciousness is the sum total of all the elements, of all our thoughts, feelings, everything. The level of consciousness, really the level of of the world, both inside and out. And I think that this is what we're ultimately wanting to attain is a higher level of consciousness, and it has been proven that our conscious awareness is our level of connection to the universe and to who we are as well, and our place in the world. And it really is our alignment with the nature of reality. And we can use the functions of the mind to raise our awareness and use it to lower, depending on our level of thoughts and beliefs.
That's an area where a lot of people say that they're controlled by their mind. Oh, my mind does this. Oh, my mind does that. Oh, I get angry. It's not me, and all that. So, it's as if they are not kind of running their mind. Their mind is running them. So, if they want to start swapping it around and starting to run their mind instead of the other way, how would they go about doing that?
Meditation, clearing out, working on beliefs, really working on the subconscious mind. In my mind, it should be making the automatic side of our mind so that it is running in a positive manner, and it's becoming aware of what we're doing in the world, what we're butting up against. I mean, the world is like a mirror, and it will reflect back to you very quickly where you're at on your journey. And so I think it's a matter of reading the people and the environment around you as your guide, as a sort of barometer. And then this is why I think we have a life, is to work this out.
Someone said your mind can be your worst enemy. Do you think that?
Yeah, it can be our worst enemy or our best friend. This is why I think that also having an open mind is extremely important, because a lot of people get so fixated on things, and if you haven't got an open mind to look at other points of view, you're really narrowing. It's like living in a tunnel instead of living in a wide open space. It's our mind is a tool, and people get stuck in the mind because the mind is so filled with stuff from the past and trauma and pain that it becomes very hard to shift, because we get into a loop. We have these negative thoughts, it creates a negative emotion, which creates more negative thought, and then we get very frustrated, and then that energy, and then whatever we try to do is going to be attracting that same kind of energy. So we've got to break the loop. We've got to break that vicious cycle.
Do you think that repetitive conditions like depression and anxiety, that they are loops that can be broken in that way? Because obviously they're loops, aren't they?
Yep, the loops are downward spirals. They it could be karmic. When basically the body is like an antenna, and we will attract to ourselves, for better or for worse, what state we're in. So a lot of it is to do with our physiology. When you can literally make yourself feel better by just standing up really straight and putting your back and sort of facing with a an open stature rather than being hunched over and your head down and woe is me. You'll often find when people are in a down state, their body will show it. So we've got to sort of like almost we've got to fake it till we make it. I don't particularly like that saying, but there's a sort of aspect of truth in it. Again, that we're feeling better than we are sometimes, but we've also got to be facing the reality of how we feel as well. We can't go into denial. Denial is a absolute trap. It's an escape, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got to authenticity. We've got to be really authentic, and this is the training, and we need. This is why I think the best thing to do for our minds, for our emotions as well, for our whole body, is simply go out in nature. Go for a walk along the beach or in the forest, or and just observe nature and feel, because you are getting lifted up. If you actually are receptive to nature, you'll immediately start to feel better. And as your energy state goes up, your level of thoughts and awareness goes up with it. And so nature is working on you for your benefit, even if you're not thinking that it is. That's one incredible thing. And it comes back to those key elements again: water, air, earth, fire, ether.
Yeah.
But the four elements, at least, is the four earthly elements, and being in touch with them on a regular basis. And like, you know, walking, just the act of walking is creating some activity in the body, which is kind of positive. It's making you breathe deeper. It's pumping the blood a little faster. It's doing these things that, automatically start to make you feel better.
Tracy asks, well, she says, judgment is about focusing on right and wrong. How can we differentiate between what you described as knowing what is right action and wrong action, or in other words, having a consciousness, and the difference between judgment? So I suppose between judgment and consciousness, what is the difference?
Yeah, you know, that's quite a good question, really. Trial and error. You know, something, when you do certain things, this is where it comes down to, I believe, that we show what we love to do, and we have to actually align our thoughts with what we love to do, but we have to also love who we are. And if you, as you work on doing different things, you know, just like if you touch the hot stove, you soon know not to touch that. That's not a good action. That's a kind of, you could say, a wrong. I don't like the word wrong, because it's quite polarizing, and it's really just duality. But we live in a dual world. So for me, it's about knowing what feels good when you do it or when you say it. One knows what doesn't feel good. The feelings are also very important, and they are actually more powerful in a way, because they are. So I would use my feeling senses more than thoughts but once you when you're thinking about something, whether it's right or wrong, if it doesn't feel good, then I wouldn't do it. But if it does feel good, and when you think about it and you give yourself some time to think about it, then you will know. So it's aligning the thought and feeling. It's aligning those two together.
Another
which
way
means balancing your.
Yes. And another way that Tahira puts it is judgment can be purely logical or based on wisdom. When it involves wisdom, the consciousness is involved.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean by discernment and judgment. Good judgment can be a very positive thing. It doesn't mean you're judging someone else. Yeah, that's what I would say is not good. But if you are using a more objective form of judgment or discernment, then that can be in a positive frame. But beating yourself up and judging yourself as a bad person, that's not going to get you very far. Jesus spoke about judgment as well, and he said the last temptation will be judgment. In other words, it's one of the toughest things that we have to deal with before we enter the kingdom. That's sort of what he was. So what he's saying is, judgment of self and judgment of others are totally related, and they are very detrimental in a negative when they're done in a negative way. But when you have good judgment, then you will have the opposite. It will have the opposite effect.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
And to me, that comes with knowing who you are, doing research, understanding the difference between belief and knowing, and just pure information. Information needs to be disseminated. It needs to be sifted before we can start to understand what real higher, how to access higher judgment.
Yeah. So Anne asks a question. She says, "Hi Tony, thank you for your wonderful information. Do you have any other suggestions other than walking if you are not mobile?"
Yes, breathing exercises. Writing, journaling, meditation, breathing in itself, just deep breathing. There's types of breathing. There's diaphragm breathing is very good for getting a quick energy buzz. You can also do the breathing where you're just watching the breath go in and out through your nose. These are very calming as well. They can be calming, they can be energizing, they can be relaxing. What else would I suggest is, I like to write. I mean, if I want to get ideas, inspiration, when I want to do an article, I'll think about something I want to write about, and then I'll just sort of listen. I might be listening to a video or reading a book, and something will come out at me. But I also believe that journaling is a way of releasing and getting to the core of what our beliefs are. And that alone is such a powerful exercise. It doesn't have to be just pure physical exercise. We can have mental exercises. We can do lots of different mental exercises. And mandala drawing. I love that. It was a very powerful exercise too. Colouring in mandalas.
And I suppose you could, because some people think, oh, yoga, you need to be fit and you need to be flexible and all that. But actually, you can do yoga lying down. You can do yoga just using your arms or your legs, or stretching or twisting. So there are all sorts of ways you can move while not being extremely mobile. And I suppose what would be good is to move while using the breath, stretch, going into a stretch and breathing into the stretch. I think from my point of view, I think that would be another solution.
Yep. And just lying down in Shavasana, they call it
Yes.
Shavasana.
Yeah.
That is a very powerful exercise.
Mm. Mm.
It's very, very subtle.
Yeah.
But when you can just and witness your body, feel you just put your mind, start from your toes and work your way up and just mentally picture inside your body and move your way up your body. That in itself, that slowing down that sympathetic nervous system that I was talking about. It's a very subtle exercises are some of the most powerful. You don't have to be doing active um, physical exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. And Tracy has come back with another tricky question. Tracy, you always have some really good tricky questions. So she says, people with PTSD react immediately to triggers. There is no gap for them to choose. Is there no gap for them to choose? How to break that? That was just my aside. How to break that tendency to react when triggered?
Well, take a deep breath. It's a training exercise really, and there are gaps between thoughts. It's just that we're not still enough to
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
So I believe a good way is to practice meditation, practice breathing, because the more you do it, it compounds upon itself. It's like compounding interest in a bank account.
Mm.
As you do it, at first it's challenging, but as you do that, you will start to have a more subtle awareness of your witnessing self. And it really comes down to being a
Yeah.
better witness.
Yeah.
If you can imagine yourself floating out of your body and looking down at yourself and what you're thinking, you know what you're feeling, that it's quite a challenging exercise, but it can be done, because even I'm not a good meditator. I don't meditate that well, but what I do for meditation is I love listening to music, really soulful kind of music or instrumental music or music that's I love music like Enigma and Enya, and they really, I find that after listening to some music for a while, that really puts me in a state where I feel much less in a triggered type state. But that trigger is coming from our subconscious mind. It's coming from the deeply emotions and beliefs that we have. And so somehow you've got to break into that vault of the subconscious mind,
Yes.
start unraveling the traumas and pain that is held in there. And it's very tightly held.
Yes, and start witnessing or looking for the gap and then witnessing it and then
Yeah,
making choices within that gap.
yeah.
That was a good
I
question.
remember the day when I actually had a conscious awareness of that gap, and to this day, I can still remember how groundbreaking it was. Like, just happened. It just happened, just out of the blue, and it was really an amazing realization. It would like sent to like a ripple effect through my body that I will always remember. And then once you've done it once, it can actually erase years of frustration in just that one moment of being aware of it. And for me, it came through nature and listening to the birds, watching them, and just observing nature. For me, gave me that incredible feeling of nowness in that moment.
Yeah. So yes, so the air element is quite it's a fascinating one, because we are so it's so much part of us in terms of, as you say, either we are managing it or it is managing us and we are not managing it. And because it's a little bit more, it's more subtle, it's more elusive, so it's not so easy to get in touch with it as it is to with the earth element and the water element. So any last questions in our last 5 minutes? Anyone else, or would you have any last words, Tony?
On the relation of the mind, and I know for a lot of women are naturally right brain generally. You obviously get women who are very left brain, but generally right brain is more of a feminine quality and left brain is more of a masculine quality. And you often see a lot of men, they're very, very dominant in their left brain, but they don't have much in the way of their right brain. Their emotional intelligence is very underdone, but their IQ is overly strong. And I see a lot of women or a lot of people that have gone through spiritual new age kind of movement, they're very left-brained, and they struggle to be able to integrate the left brain or the air mind element in. So it generally, so what I feel is this is where we have to sort of, the ultimate balance is really balancing the left and right brain, but we can't do it without tapping into that subconscious mind.
Yeah. Well, Joss says something very very positive here. It's about when we were talking about PTSD and finding the gap. She says, that's true. It is a training exercise. I was a shocking PTSD person. I programmed myself to ride above it all of it. I saw it and felt it coming up, and I chose to let it go. You do have to manage it abso-bloody-lutely. Not easy, but so worth it. Thank you, Joss.
Well said, Joss. That's beautiful. There's a living example. That's coming through you cultivating your awareness to become aware of what you were doing. And once, as I say, once you had one experience where you know that you've been the witness, and it'll change the rest of the course of your life. It's really that powerful when you are aware that you're aware, when you know that you knew in that moment. Those problems are never as great again. And once you've got that foot in the door, then we can keep moving forward and up.
Yeah, great. So what would you, any last suggestions, and what will we be talking about next time? Or what would you like to let people know in our closing minute?
Well, next week I'm gonna revert to our crypto focus with Everrich, or with cryptos in general. I'm looking at probably doing another training on Everrich, probably, for those that are members. For those that, if it's going to depend on what's happening in the community there. So I'll have a think over the weekend and put it out. The next weekend after that, the next Friday, after that, will be the fire element. Natural Intelligence Freedom Friday will be based on the fire element in the next fortnight session, which is about the soul and heart, energy and passion and purpose, and how to cultivate that.
Yeah, so watch out for that, everyone.
Yeah, but in the meantime, with the year, it's all about finding that stillness of mind and silence, and silencing the chattery mind, the monkey mind, as they call it in India, because the mind, if it's not trained and tamed, it'll like a monkey, it'll jump around all over the place, and we won't get anywhere fast. So we have to open the mind, and we have to control the mind, but not through resistance and coercion and beating yourself up. It has to be done from the it's always an inside job, inside out.
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Tony, and thanks everyone for being here today. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
Cool. See you all.
See you.